And welcome back to Deck Breakdown with Alzorath. Today I'm going to just talk about one of my favorite shadow cards in the entire game. It's not really the best one. It's one of the kind of cornerstone ones that a lot of people use, but they don't really... it's not really noticed as much as it probably should be, and that's Shadow Font. It's kind of a... it's a bonus card. It helps a lot of different decks, especially decks where the cornerstone of your deck, like for example the one that I'm sitting on right now, which is my Dark Claw deck, which is my Lone Wolf deck is what I call it. And you can also use it really nicely on Majaya, on Gravebone. Both those have abilities that are cornerstones of their decks. And basically it allows you to gain 3 shadow energy. It's the Shadow's counterpart to... let's go ahead and load another deck real quick. Let's load a human deck. Any of the human decks works. Let's go with... I'll hop into Lance. There we go. Since I've already displayed that one on my channel twice now, actually. There's also another episode set up for next week. It's kind of the Shadow counterpart to... where is it? There it is. The Radiant Sunlight. Radiant Sunlight keeps people from using their shadow abilities, whereas Shadow Font allows them to use them more frequently. It's good for a surprise attack if you want to hold it in your hand to lure the enemy to cast a spell whenever you have low shadow energy. Let's go ahead and load back our Dark Claw there real quick. But yeah, if you want to lure the enemy into casting out, let's say, a low-cost creature, or a mid creature for your hero to kill. It's good for holding in your hand for that purpose. It's also good for holding in your hand in case somebody is playing a human hero and neutralizes your shadow energy for a little bit, because there are abilities that... there's cards that... here, let's go ahead and wander down to it, because it's actually a neutral ability. If memory serves... oh! I accidentally clicked outside the window just then. You guys wouldn't have known that if I wouldn't have said anything. Shadow Spawn. It's actually a shadow ability. I thought there was a neutral one too. But yeah. Shadow Spawn, it causes you to lose all your shadow energy. You can actually even combine these by dropping this and then Shadow Font, and you have a little bit of an advantage there, especially against human opponents, which really have no way to recover their shadow energy, which is slightly disappointing. Honestly, as far as shadow heroes go, in my opinion, their strengths are their shadow abilities, whereas human strengths are their allies. And right now that does give human heroes a little bit of an advantage. I think we'll see that shift as expansions come out and the meta changes. And I look for... clicking on the wrong card there. I look forward to seeing several different things that take advantage of shadow energy a bit more than what we see right now. Because right now, you really don't see much in the way of shadow-oriented abilities. It's just not that common in the card base. Of course, there isn't that big of a card base yet, so that's another big deal. It mixes well. It's on the same lines as Drain Power. I wouldn't say it mixes well with it, but Drain Power is a good neutralizing ability against people who play shadow creatures that are, shadow heroes that are based on shadow abilities. Majaya, let's see if I keep opening the wrong one. You'll have to forgive me on that. It's kind of, I was torn as to which one to do this over, so we're going to go wandering into the heroes. The reason why I kind of settled on looking at Shadow Font in particular, let's head down here. I think I have some... nope, I don't actually have any in this deck right now. I put in the Leyline Nexuses instead. But the reason why I thought about doing Shadow Font now is because of the recent announcement of Meltdown, which is a playstyle for the game that allows you to choose any hero in the entire game and build a deck from it. Now, it's going to be booster-based Meltdown, which means you don't get to choose from your entire card list, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is a Meltdown where you can. I wouldn't be surprised if that eventually makes it in as sort of a custom match deal, as opposed to a quick match. I don't see that ever coming to quick match, just saying that. That would you'd just see people playing that instead of the normal game, which is kind of an interesting prospect. But I have a feeling that if that did happen, you'd see certain heroes pop up in the meta that you might not otherwise expect. Because, well, let's say you have Zaladar. I think that was Zaladar. Yeah, that's Zaladar. I always forget which elemental is which. They don't have really identifying characteristics like gender. But I can see Zaladar popping up as a mage variant in Meltdown with his ability is essentially Majia's without the draw advantage, but it hits 2 targets. You see that pop up with Shadow Font. That was a horrible deck to be showing that with. Yeah, I don't play elementals very often, and I don't play hunters very often. I'm starting to try and get into warriors. As you can tell, I haven't ever made a Logan yet, so that might pop in there. A lot of these bottom, let's see, a lot of these aren't even real decks, so they're just things I was fiddling with to test different theories. Other heroes you might see pop up, you might see Darkclaw pop up as a popular one for weapon-based heroes. Can you imagine that with aimed shot, Soulseeker, and his ability? That's 5 damage right there, and it's, of course, Gwyneth's is better, but he has ambush, so it makes it so you can't counter him during it. So you have a nice little difference of views between him and Gwyneth, because, well, he can rip you to shreds with impunity. She can keep the weapon around indefinitely. Which one do you choose? If there is a Meltdown format, I definitely see Victor making a presence with the use of Shadow Font. His shadow ability reduces the target creature down to 1 life. Imagine using that several turns, and it pulls hunter cards back to your hand, so you can pull those poison and the death traps back to your hand, which would give that deck a little bit longer survivability in the field. I see a lot of human heroes possibly with a Meltdown format using Shadow Font to essentially make themselves notably stronger, although human shadow abilities in general, in my opinion, are a little bit weaker than their shadow counterparts. And the shadow counterparts, their abilities have a lot more flavor to them, in my opinion. With the humans, their shadow abilities feel a little bit more generic, with the exception of maybe Boris Skullcrusher, which kind of sets out from the rest, because most of these, I mean, you have the mages dealing direct damage, but he's got the only one that's like really extremely control-based. Victor, to an extent, is, but his is sort of unique. Those are the only 2 ones that really feel unique to me out of the human heroes. I'd be interested to see if we ever see any new heroes pop up in the expansions, which would lead to even more use of some of these shadow augmenting abilities, if their abilities are certainly cornerstone to certain deck types. Let's go ahead and pop into a human real quick. And let's wander over there. That's the Victor deck I'm trying out. You're going to see it next week in, I want to say Wednesday is when I'm scheduling that one. It's my attempt at a Victor deck. It's not weapon-based. It's just got support with weapons. The Gwyneth one is a little bit more weapon-based. I'm testing out hunters to see if I can actually play them at all. I'm finding I hate their draw engine, but I'm running off on a tangent there. Let's go back to the Shadow Energy discussion. Of course, there's Drain Power again. But as you can see, it's not really an affected stat for most of these heroes. Now, Radiant Sunlight, I see actually being more useful in a Meltdown format than in a normal quick match format, because while shadow abilities are key, they don't really make the cornerstone of any deck unless you start seeing a cheap one pop up if there are new heroes. I think it'd be kind of neat to see a hero with a 2 shadow energy ability that can spam it every few turns. A weak ability, but something that would work with a specific deck. I wouldn't mind seeing that pop up. It'd be hard to balance though, so. The only unit that I can think of off the top of my head that affects shadow energy too is the Priest of Light. Of course, it's human, so it's causing shadow energy to go away. That's the common theme, and they've talked about this in their blogs for the game, that humans are not really shadow-oriented decks. They're meant to control enemy shadow energy, and they aren't really destructive so much as manipulative of resources. Like that. So I like the flavor of shadow abilities, and I look forward to seeing what all we can do with them, but only time will tell. I'm looking forward to the expansion. I'm hoping it'll be out before the end of the year. That would be really great. I think that would be fun for me to be able to do deck breakdown on cards that people haven't already torn to pieces. Let's see, I'm on episode 3. Next episode will be another card-based one, and then the one after that will be one of my decks. If you want to request a specific deck, be sure to comment down below, because I'm going to be doing the new... I'm going to try and do a deck every 4 episodes, and just do cards that catch my eye in between there. And like I've done with this one, I've wandered off on the whole tangent of shadow energy abilities and the meltdown, which I actually do intend to do with each of the deck breakdowns, because it's pertinent information if you're looking at a specific card to know what cards counter it and what cards affect it. Let's go ahead and wander back to Dark Claw, because I like Dark Claw. Let's save that so I'm using it. I might put up another Dark Claw deck pretty soon, because people have been requesting that I go and play Woven Heroes, which oddly enough at first I was not playing anything but Woven. I was playing my Dark Claw deck almost exclusively at first. So yeah, we'll see that pop in there. I might make a Moonstalker deck, not a Millstalker, a Moonstalker. I don't like mill decks. Never have. They're effective. That's all I'm going to say on that one. But I don't like them. Anyway, if you have any comments on shadow abilities, shadow font, shadow spawn, radiant sunlight, any of those cards, if you have specific strategies you think are really useful with them, post them below. If you have any comments on strategy that I may have missed with these, again, comment below. If you think that shadow font won't be useful in Meltdown, which it may not be, it's kind of a hit or miss thing. With certain heroes you don't really need your shadow ability, but I see with the mix of where you can use any card in the game, the shadow ability becomes much more of a determining factor compared to the traditional game where it's a mix of, well, what class are you, I guess you'd call it race, shadow or human, what alignment are you, there we go, that would be an appropriate term for it. It would go for what alignment you are, and you're limited on those factors, so those become effects on the battle as well, whereas in Meltdown you can use any card in the game as any hero, so shadow energy becomes the differentiating factor there. So you kind of have to balance that and life. That's about it. That's about all that's going to make the difference between the decks, besides card choice, of course. So yeah. Anyway, if you enjoy the content, be sure to like, comment, subscribe below, and I will see you guys next time on Deck Breakdown and on my Shadow Era commentary. And be sure to check out my other videos. I will be getting back into doing the other series that I have on my channel. I've just been a little bit busy lately. I have had a lot of work to do, and well, as you can tell, I've been trying to just keep a steady flow of these released, since this is my most popular series, the Shadow Era series. So yeah. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Keep gaming, have fun, check out the forums, be sure to check out other Shadow Era Network creators. They have everything from fan fiction to art to videos like you're watching here. And there's a number of them on YouTube. And I will see you guys next time. Peace out.